let's talk about a retirement plan you might have heard of but maybe don't fully get, the 403b. We're going to decode it today. Think of it less like a confusing financial document and more like a special toolkit just for your retirement. So who's this toolkit actually for?
So let me ask you straight up, where do you work? Are you a teacher? Do you work at a nonprofit, maybe a hospital, a university, or a charity? How about certain government jobs? If you're nodding along right now, listen up, because this is for you.
Yup, there is a retirement plan out there that was literally designed for people in your line of work. And nope, it's not the 401k you always hear about. This is something else entirely. So let's get right to it. What is this thing? Okay, so what is a 403b? At its heart, it's a tax-sheltered retirement plan. And that tax-sheltered part is super important. It basically means the government gives you a break on taxes to encourage you to save for retirement. You could almost think of it as the 401k's cousin, but specifically for folks in public service and nonprofits. All right, so we know what it's called. Now let's pop the hood and see how this thing actually runs. You know, the important stuff. How does your money get in there? And more importantly, how does it grow? Welcome to the engine room. When you put money in, you've basically got two flavors to choose from. The first is the traditional or pre-tax option. This is pretty cool because the money comes out of your paycheck before the government takes its tax cut. So boom, your taxable income for the year just went down. The other way to go, if your employer offers it, is a Roth 403b. With a Roth, you pay the taxes now, on the way in. The huge payoff? When you take that money out in retirement, it's completely tax-free. So the big question for you is, do you want your tax break now or do you want it later? So, how much can you actually sock away? Well, for 2024, if you're under 50, you can put in up to, get this, $23,000. That's a serious amount of cash you can put toward your future, way more than you can put in some other accounts. But wait, it gets even better. If you're 50 or older, the IRS lets you do what's called a catch-up contribution. You get to throw in an extra $7,500 on top of that. That brings your grand total to $30,500 a year. I mean, that's an incredible way to supercharge your savings as you get closer to retirement. Okay, so we've got the nuts and bolts down. Now let's get to the good stuff, the sunny side. What are the big, shiny advantages that make a 403b such an awesome tool in the right hands? Now look, no financial plan is all sunshine and rainbows. There are always pros and cons, right? We're going to look at both sides of the coin to give you the full picture. But first, let's really dive into the positives. What makes this thing so appealing? So when we zoom in on the pros list here, a few things really jump out, don't they? We're talking major tax breaks, those big contribution limits we just mentioned, and something called portability. Let's break down exactly what these mean for you. Okay, let's tick them off. First, the tax benefits. I mean, this is huge. Lowering the amount of money you pay taxes on right now is a win, plain and simple. Second, those contribution limits are just massive, especially when you compare them to an IRA. And we already talked about that awesome catch-up for folks over 50. And last but not least, portability. That just means if you switch jobs, you're not stuck. You can usually take that money with you by rolling it over. Super flexible. All right, let's be real for a second. To use any tool properly, especially a financial one, you gotta know the safety warnings. No plan is perfect, and knowing the downsides is just as crucial as knowing the upsides. So let's flip the coin and talk about the caution signs you need to look out for. This here lays out some of those potential speed bumps pretty clearly. So let's walk through them. What are the things that might trip you up if you're not paying attention? So what are the big ones? Well, number one, fees. You have to watch out for fees. Some 403b plans can have higher costs that just nibble away at your investment returns over time. Second, your investment choices might be kind of limited. And here's a big one, the employer match, or rather, the lack of one. A lot of employers with 403bs don't kick in any money, which is a huge difference from the 401k world. And of course, just like most retirement accounts, try to take your money out too early and you're gonna get hit with penalties. Ouch. You'll often hear the word annuity thrown around with 403bs, and it can sound super complicated. So let's just bust that jargon right now. All an annuity really is a deal you make with an insurance company. You give them a chunk of money, and they promise to pay you back a steady income stream later, like a personal pension. It's all about predictable income, but just be aware they can have their own set of fees and rules. Now, speaking of getting your money out, the calendar is your best friend here. There are some key dates you absolutely have to know. There's a neat little rule where if you leave your job in the year you turn 55 or later, you might be able to start taking money out without a penalty. But for everyone else, the magic number is 59 and a half. That's when the doors open for penalty-free withdrawals. And then watch out for age 73. That's when the government says, okay, time's up, you have to start taking money out. They're called RMDs, or Required Minimum Distributions. So we've covered a lot of ground, right? We talked about what a 403b is, how it works, the good, the bad, the whole shebang. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question, is it actually the right move for you? You know, I keep coming back to that toolkit analogy because it's so true. A 403b is a specialized piece of equipment. If you're a teacher or you work for a nonprofit, this thing can be an absolutely fantastic way to build your retirement nest egg. But, and this is a big but, its real power comes from you knowing how to use it. You have to understand the specific rules of your plan, especially the fees and what you can invest in. So let's just boil it all down one last time. On the pro side, you've got those awesome tax breaks, the ability to save a ton of money each year, and the flexibility to take it with you. And on the con side, you've got to keep an eye out for higher fees, maybe not a lot of investment choices, and the big one, often no employer
And really,
match.
that's the bottom line. The most important thing is that you're not just a passenger on this ride, you're the pilot of your own retirement plan. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you know a little more about how all this works, what's the very first question you're going to ask about your 403b?